This is our start of today, and then your questions, and then word problems. Okay, so p of x divided by x minus a, a polynomial divided by x minus 5, or x plus 5, has a remainder of anyone can help? Has a remainder of okay, here's an example. So what if I have x plus 5? How do I determine the remainder? Anyone would like to save us?
You would set it equal to negative 5.
Okay, so let's go back. Okay, we said that if I divide p of x by x minus a, p of a is the remainder of this division. So let's go back. Maybe I should keep this here.
The remainder will be 0?
Careful. How do I calculate it? It could be 0. But how do I...
plug in negative 5 to p.
Exactly. In this case, p of a. In our example, we will have p of negative 5. Awesome. Who saved us? Was it... Who was that?
I am.
10. Thank you so much. Okay. So we got saved by 10 first time. Good. So this division has a remainder, which could be 0. But in order to calculate it, all I have to do is plug this in here. So it's p of a. But careful, when we compare these two, it means that a is negative 5. So if I want to find, and specifically I have this denominator, I'm using my props. So p of x divided by x plus 5, I have to use p of negative 5 to find the remainder, which could be 0. But in order to find the remainder, that's what I need to do. Good. Next one. If p of x over x minus a has a remainder dot, 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 then x minus a is a dot, 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 dot of p of x. Who will save us now?
Factor?
Yes, but what? Yes, perfect, of course. But what do I put here?
0.
Thank you. Awesome. Great job. Thank you. Charles, and who was that? Kevin, of course. Thank you. Number 3, p of x is this. If p of x has rational zeros, they must be on the following list. Can anyone give us the list? We're not going to check. We just want to list those options. Please, we need a saver. What would be the ratio? Of what over what?
Negative.
P over q?
Yes. So you mean negative 4 divided by 3. What are the factors of negative 4 or 4? Doesn't matter. Let's list them. Factors of 4.
Plus minus 1, plus minus 10, plus minus 4.
Excellent. And the factors of 3?
Plus minus 1, plus minus 3.
Excellent. Thank you, Charles. Awesome. So the list basically is this over this, this over this, this over this, this over this, this over this. The first one at the top with both, not at the same time, of course. Plus or minus 1, plus or minus 1/3, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 2/3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 4/3. Good. We looked at 3 types of rational functions. Can anyone give us the characteristics for type 1? What is the property of type 1? Anyone, please? Type 1. Degree n over?
N?
Very good, awesome. Type 2. degree n, and here degree
M.
greater than n, strictly greater than n. Okay, last one, degree n, and the top exactly
M plus
N plus
1.
1.
excellent, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Great job. Moving on. Only top type ... has slant asymptotes.
3.
Exactly. Only the third one. Perfect. A rational function can or cannot have a horizontal asymptote and slant asymptote. A rational function can or cannot have a horizontal and slant at the same time. Do I circle can or cannot? We need a saver?
Cannot.
Of course cannot. We said very clearly it cannot have a horizontal and a slant. Horizontal, type 1 and type 2. Slant, only type 3. Good. So here are the test topics. I think I can recycle this now. Oh, not the first page, sorry. So you should expect to see equations of all types. We looked at radical ones with substitution, the polynomial ones, the log, the exponential, and the rational. Then, of course, our favorite friend, difference quotient. We already talked about the factor and remainder theorem tonight. Again, it's just a simple plug-in, basically. Of course, simplifying by factoring. And I don't remember, I think Sophie wanted another example or something. Graphing, I will not ask you to graph type 3. It's too long for a test. So you'll have a quick type 1 or type 2. And word problems. I would like to start with word problems, and then we'll go back to whatever else you want. Agreed? So I like to start with the max-min and logistic growth model. Ready? Anyone? Now, if there is a pressing issue, I already copied the problem for us, but we don't have to start with this problem. We can start with any questions you may have. Anyone, please. You have the floor.
Could you go back to the test topics?
Yes, of course. I will post the handout, the notes, as you know, right after class. You don't have to copy them now. I'll come back to this page.
Okay.
I promise. And so any pressing issue, or we continue with logistic growth model? Is there any pressing issue? Do we have a quick question? Anyone, please? Please talk to me. Yes, Tam, go ahead.
I'm good to move on.
You have a question, you said?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
You want to start with this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with this. Let's read the question. We are given a function. That's the function. 14 million divided by 1 plus 0.059 times e to whatever, 0.057t. This gives us, is problem 28 on 368. So this function gives us the number of farm workers in the US T years after 1910. When I read this first part, if you want, or the beginning of the problem, I I don't look at what it's asking me to do yet, but I immediately have to identify, since it says T number of years after 1910, I know that 1910 represents T equals how many years?
0.
Absolutely. Please remember that. Good. And now I read on. Find the initial. When we say initial, we mean what they started with in the study. The initial. Well, the initial must be in 1910, which it cannot be used, right? Because it specifically says T represents number of years after 1910. So every time I see initial, what do I have to find?
Zeros.
Yes, no, when, so it says find a number. Maybe I didn't, so let me read it again. Find the initial number of farm workers. Find the initial number of farm workers. So then what do I have to find?
The y-intercept.
Yes, in other words, I have to find W of 0. Correct. Correct. Good. So let's do this together. Very easy, but I will still have to use a calculator. So when T is 0, how much is e to 0? Can anyone give us e to 0? Just to make sure it's clear. E to 0 is?
1.
Thank you. So then this will disappear when we plug in 0. Because it's 1. So I have to divide 14,656,248 by 1.059. So I prefer doing this. I prefer entering the function in the calculator. Be very careful how you enter it, because the numerator is one term. It does not need parentheses, but it's a special case. Otherwise, I would have had to use parentheses around it. And you know I'm enamored with parentheses. My speciality are parentheses. So just make sure that I enter it correctly. So then I have 1 plus 0.059, and then e. And the power, you know, I like my parentheses. For the power is 0.57 t. There is no t in the calculator. I have to use x. So close the parenthesis, and close the parenthesis for the whole thing in the denominator. I'm checking again. Yes, I entered it correctly. And I go now to second and table. And I'm not going to waste my time. I'm just going to plug in 0 and see what happens. Difficult to see. You have to go back. It's a big number. You have to highlight it in order to see what's happening here. So 3 and 3. So it's 13,800,000. So W of 0. 13,839,705. It's number of people. I will disregard the rest myself unless they tell us otherwise. Okay, so workers. Good. Second question. So this was a piece of cake. Second question. How many were in 2010? How do I determine how many farm workers were in 2010? What do I have to do?
In 2010 subtracted by 1910.
Very good, and that is
100.
okay. So I have to determine. So that's another reason why I enter the function in there, so then I don't have to worry about it. Oh, sorry, I meant to go back to x, put 100. Make sure you highlight the number. So look at that. It dropped to, in 100 years, to 786,567 workers. Okay, final question. So both of them, piece of cake, no worries. So final question, let's read. When did the number of workers reach 10 million? What do I have to do in this case? When will the number reach 10 million? We need help? No help is available? Please? It's okay if you're wrong. What are we going to do? Are we stuck?
We set the equation to 10 million.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So careful how you copy all this big number. 248 divided by 1 plus 0.059 e to 0.057t. Thank you, Tam, for saving us. Good. Now I have to look carefully and decide what type of equation is this, and I'm going to give you a little bit of help. This is just a denominator. It has some variable in there. What type of equation is this? When we have a fraction on the left, a fraction on the right, and of course some variable in the denominator. How do we call this? We worked on these problems before. There is a specific name for this. And then there is a very clear step on how to continue to solve it. Anyone, please? Anyone, please? Anyone? I refuse to believe. Yes, go ahead, please.
Rational?
Yes, of course. Specifically, the easiest type of rational. What type? Okay, here's another hint.
Cross multiply.
Exactly, it's a proportion. Exactly. So proportion. Only in a proportion we can cross multiply. So let's do it. This times this equals this times this. Okay? So we have 10 million multiplied by, careful, parentheses, 1 plus 0.0059 e to 0.057t. And that has to equal that big number of 14,656,248. Very good. Perfect. Next step. We want to clean it up. Clean it up. We want to clean it up. How do I continue cleaning it up? Kind of difficult to see, but obviously I'm focusing on this. This is my target. What should I do next?
Divided by 10 million.
Excellent, brilliant, thank you. So we have indeed 1 plus 0.059 e to 0.057t equals this over this. So it has 7 zeros. I move the decimal digit already. 1.4, we lost Ethan. 1.4656,248. Excellent. It's not cleaned up yet. What will be our next step? Of course, our focus is here. What do I need to do next? Give it a shot, please. What should I do now? This is my focus, but it's not clean.
One.
Exactly, thank you so much. Only Charles is paying attention and Tam. So 0.059 e to 0.057t equals 1.4 minus 1 is 0.4656248. Almost there. I need to further clean it up. One more step. This is my target. please? Anyone else? Give it a shot, please.
You divide it,
By?
that number.
Exactly. So we have e to 0.057t equals 0.4656248 divided by 0.059. I don't care for this number. What do I do next? It's just a number. What do I have to do next? Don't divide, don't touch this, who cares? It's just a poor number. What do we do next to find t?
Do you do natural log?
Brilliant. We apply natural log to both sides. The left-hand side we know it's 0.057t. The right-hand side stays as is. Don't touch it. We don't care for it. Don't do anything to it. Final step. What is it? Please, anybody, please?
Do you divide 0.057?
So this by, yes, or both sides by that, yes. Be very careful how you put it in the graphing calculator. Do not calculate anything step by step. You will introduce a lot of error.